Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 8.1, 8.5 After Break Review. Remember to graph each quadratic equation and label the specified parts. So, number 1, y equals negative x squared minus 2x minus 1. If we're to graph this, the first thing that we need to find is the vertex. And to find the vertex, we have to use a special equation. And that is the opposite of b over 2a. Well, if I remember correctly, this is my a, that's my b, and that's c. So the opposite of b, well, it's negative 2. Well, the opposite of that would be positive 2. So 2 over 2 times negative 1. Okay. Well, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Well, voila. That is part of our vertex, okay? And now we need to go 2 numbers higher and 2 numbers lower. So we got negative 2, negative 3, 0, and 1. Well, how do we find the rest of them? Easy, by plugging it into the equation, okay? So I'm getting my calculator out and ready to go. So I have negative x. Well, negative x would be negative 1, right? So like I was saying, so we have that negative sign. Then x is negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. Okay, plug it in and you get, boom, 0. Awesome. That's what it should be. Now, what I want you guys to do is to fill out the rest of those numbers for me in the table. Okay? Pause the video. Good luck. Okay, so you should have gotten negative 4 and negative 1. And remember, be smart about this, guys. You don't have to do all of this work. The top 2 and the middle 2, they're going to give you the same answer because this there is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is at that negative 1, which is part of your, what is that part of, guys? Part of your vertex, the negative 1, 0. And then now we graph negative 2 and 0, negative 1. And then 1, negative 4, and negative 2, negative 4. Once you're done with that, we're going to graph it. And there we go. Is that it? No, I think we have some questions. All right, so let's look at the questions. It says, what is the vertex? Well, the vertex, that's the negative 1, 0 point. Okay, our axis of symmetry is an equation, x equals negative 1. Our y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis and where it crosses the y-axis is right there. That is the point 0, negative 1. And then our solutions, remember that the solution is where it crosses the x-axis. And this time it only crosses at one spot, and we say that it crosses at x equals negative 1. Okay, it's not asking for the intercepts like it is in problem number 2. Intercepts are points. Solutions, you're just telling me what x is. Okay? All right, let's look at number 2. What is our vertex? Remember, in a vertex form, which what this is in, we take the opposite of what's inside, and this number stays the same. So my vertex for this one is positive 3, 2. And then the same thing, we go 2 up and 2 down. Now, I will do one of these together. Let's just do the first one. When you're plugging it in, just follow what the formula says. 2 minus, we'll do 1 minus 3 squared plus 2. Plug it in, and we get 10. And I'll give you another answer. Tell me what you get for 2. Did you find out yet? Well, you should have gotten 4. And if you didn't get that, you need to come in for help. All right, so graphing this, we have the point 110, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4, 4, and 5, 10. And now we graph. So I'm making my parabola as smooth as possible. Cool. I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry in. The axis of symmetry is what cuts our graph, our quadratic formula, our parabola, in half. And now let's answer these questions. So my vertex, where's the vertex at? Good, the vertex is at 3, 2, and our axis of symmetry is at x equals 3. Now what's our y-intercept? Our y-intercept is when x equals 0. And it's not on the graph, which means we have to figure it out. So all that means is you plug in 0 for x squared plus 2. So plug that into your calculator and solve. And you should get 20. And then our x-intercepts, how many times does it cross the x-axis? This time, none. Okay. Now, solve each quadratic equation using factoring, inverse operations, or completing the square. Some of you guys have not learned completing the square. That's okay. It's problem number 6. If that looks completely crazy to you, just skip that part. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at our squareds. I want them on the same side. Which one's smaller? Well, the x squared is. So if the x squared is smaller, I'm going to move that to the other side. And I'm going to get that 8 to the other side too. And I'm adding it. Well, everything on the right cancels and we get 0, which is what we want. 2x squared minus x squared is x squared plus 9x. Well, negative 8 and positive 8, those cancel out too. So how am I going to solve this? Remember, the first thing we always want to check, is there a GCF? And in this case, there is. We can factor out an x, and then we're left with x plus 9 equals 0. I set each one of those equal to 0 and solve. And then we end up getting that, well, our first one was solved, x equals 0 and x equals negative 9. So when I write our answers, I'm going to put those in numerical order. All right, number 4. Once again, the first thing we do is we look at our quadratic term. And now I'm going to have to move that 9y squared. And then I'm going to add the 7y. Everything on the left cancels, and we're left with 0 equals 2y squared minus 3y minus 5. So, is there a GCF? No, no GCF. I'm going to multiply those two numbers and I get 10. Make sure that looks like a 10. Guys, this is the most important part right here. Okay, I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get to 10 and add to get to negative 3. How did I get negative 3? because that's what my B term is. Okay, so which one makes that true? I think it's, oh, remember, that's a negative 10. Mr. Grice almost made a big mistake. That would have been bad. Okay, so it's going to be 2 and negative 5. Remember, it has to be true in both situations. So we're going to split that middle term into a positive 2y and a negative 5y minus 5. Okay, the GCF of our first group is a 2y. The 2y comes out front, and we're left with y plus 1. Now, the GCF of the back, my leading coefficient is negative, so that means my GCF is negative. And I can plot a negative 5, and when we divide everything out, we get y plus 1, because a negative 5 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 1. Okay? Okay, and then we get y plus 1, and then our other one is the 2y minus 5. And we get the 2y minus 5 from those two guys. And that is still set equal to 0. Okay? The last step is to solve. So we have 2y minus 5 equaling 0 and y plus 1 equals 0. And when you're done with that, you should get that y equals negative 1 and a positive 5 over 2. All right, number 5. First thing we're going to do, this is the type of problem when it's in vertex form that we're going to solve by SADMAP, the reverse order of operations. Okay, so in SADMAP, we get rid of addition and subtraction first. So I have to subtract the 1. And we have negative 3 y plus 7 squared equaling negative 27. Now, before you go off taking the square root, we have to divide both by negative 3. And then we have y plus 7, or w plus 7 squared equaling negative 27 divided by negative 3 is a positive 9. Okay? I need to take the square root of both sides to cancel that. And then we get y plus 7 equals a plus or a minus 3. And then to get the w by itself, we subtract 7. And this is where we split this into two parts where we have negative 3 minus 7 and then 3 minus 7. Because we're going to have two answers, and we get that w equals negative 4 and negative 10. All right, number 6. This is completing the square, guys. If you did not do completing the square, you need to move on to the next problem, okay? Because this is going to confuse you. So the first thing we need to do is check to see if we were to try to factor it, we're looking for numbers that multiply to negative 4 and add to positive 8. We can't do that. So the next thing that we would do is, this is when we know we need to complete the square. So we have x squared plus 8x equals 4. Okay, so what do we do next? All right, so we need to look at this middle term. And we're going to take that middle term, the 8, and divide it by 2, and then square it. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2, or 4 squared, gives us 16. So we're going to add 16 to both sides. Okay? All right, now that we've added 16 to both sides, on the right side we get 20. And on the left side, when we factor this, this turns into a special case, which is x plus 4 squared. Okay? And now that we've done that, we can just solve by using inverse operations, where we take the square root of both sides to cancel that out, and we get x plus 4 equals, we got to find the square root of 20. Square root of 20 is 4.47. So it's plus or minus 4.47. And then to solve, we would subtract 4 to both sides. We get our two problems of negative 4.47 minus 4 and 4.47 minus 4. And that's where we get our two answers of x. We rounded our answer, and we get a negative 8.47 and 0.47. And let's make that look like an 8, Mr. Grice. There we go. All right, let's flip it over to the back page. All right, number 7. Romero was sleeping on a hammock at a beach in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, but accidentally fell off. His vertical motion can be represented by the equation h equals negative 16t squared plus 5, where t represents the time in seconds and h represents Romero's height above the sand in feet. So here we go. Let's draw a little picture. There's my little palm tree. There's another one, because he's on a hammock, right? Remember, the hammock is what you kind of tie around and there he is. He's laying down, he's relaxing, enjoying the view. Okay? But then he falls off. So what happens in the first one? Are we looking for the h or are we looking for the t? So it says, how far will he be off the ground after 0.5 seconds? Well, in this one, we know what the seconds are. We're looking for how high he is. Okay? So h equals, and then all we're going to do is plug in 0.5 for the t. Okay? So what do you get? Go ahead, use your calculators. I'm not plugging it in for you. You can do it. You should get that the height was 1 feet. Now, number B, how long did it take for poor Romero to land on the sand? Well, the sand would represent the height, right? And the sand would be at 0. So it's saying how long, that's the time, and to land on the sand is 0. So for this one, we get 0, because that's our h, equals negative 16t squared plus 5. Okay, and to solve this one, well, is there GCF? Nope, no GCF. So we're going to solve it by SADMAP. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5 to both sides, and we get negative 5 equals negative 16t squared. And then we have to divide by negative 16. Negative 5 divided by negative 16 gives us 0.3125, and that's positive. And the last step would be to take the square root of that. So I'm going to square root 0.3125. And then we get our answer of 0.5 what? Should be 56 seconds. Okay. All right, number C. How long did it take for Romero to be 4 feet off the ground? or the sand. So how long, and then it told us the height, okay? So for here, the height is 4, and we're trying to find the t, okay? So we have 4 equaling negative 16 t squared plus 5. I'm going to pause the video, and I want you guys to do this one all on your own. Good luck. Okay, and you should have gotten t equals 0.25 seconds. Now for this one, what I did is I moved my 16t squared to the other side to make it positive, and then I could factor that, okay? And then I just solved. And we can't have negative time, guys. And the last one, find the y-intercept of the equation. What does the y represent in the context of the problem? Remember, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So, or for this one, the t would equal 0. So h equals the negative 16 t squared plus 5. And when you get that, we get that h equals 5. That's a real fast one. And what does that represent? Well, that means that first number was our second. So at 0 seconds, Romero was 5 feet off the ground. Okay, or the hammock was 5 feet high. Either one of those would have been fine. Okay. Well, guys, that's it for the 8.1, 8.5 review after spring break. Hopefully this wasn't too rude of awakening for you guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.